I can't get 10 feet from this asshole without getting tethered.
Masked Panda 123 wants to know if we're ever going to get rid of tethering. So unfortunately, tethering was not something we just decided to do arbitrarily. It grew out of a technical constraint that we ran into, where the multiplayer model that we chose, which was peer-to-peer, hosted on one player's machine, meant that that there was just no way that we could actually have so much of the world loaded at once that players could just go anywhere they needed to, or anywhere they wanted to. They go everywhere they needed to if what they need is to support their host. They can't go everywhere they want to, and so it's kind of a fundamental constraint of the multiplayer model we have, and so we can't just turn it off, because turning it off would lead to a ton of other problems that you really also don't want to experience, and so it's not that simple. We would need to fundamentally rethink a few things from the ground up in order to do a version of this game without tethering. But the good news is, Microsoft just bought us, and Matt Booty declared publicly that we're going to continue to work on the State of Decay franchise. So even completely out there suggestions that that seem like they're completely out of reach for this game, that doesn't mean that they're never going to be possible in the future. And so I'm not making any specific promises now, obviously, because we are still supporting this game. We haven't even begun any future games yet. But I just wanted to say, we are definitely long-term committed to this franchise and to making it as good as we possibly can, and to satisfy as many of fan desires as we possibly can. And so just be aware that we've heard you, and we absolutely know how you feel about that feature.
And if you consider a lot of the games that don't have tethering these days, they're not necessarily peer-to-peer games. Most of them are the server is held elsewhere, so a lot of that networking stuff goes through that server instead of your friend's computer, or your computer or your Xbox or whatever. So it's a little bit easier in those types of situations to allow people to explore the entire world. But in a peer-to-peer situation, there's a bit more constraint there in terms of performance and stuff like that. So we wanted to make sure people were having fun in multiplayer, and there wasn't a whole lot of other, like you said, weird stuff going on.
So Daimyo8 asks, is it possible for the Xbox One X or PC hosts to have an increased tether distance in multiplayer? This was something that our sustainment team actually did look into, and the problem was technically, yes, it is theoretically possible that we could make it a little bit wider for more powerful machines. The problem was we had to be very careful in where we set the original tether distance, because it's not just like it's one number you change and then everything just works. Like, different parts of the game all needed to interact with that tether distance in different ways. Spawning enemies, like level of detail stuff.
I got one.
Oh, you got one?
So for tether distance, for instance, one of the issues that people were reporting was that in multiplayer, if you were too far away from the host, infestations were auto-clearing. And so part of that is related to, they're still within the tether distance, but they're not, but there was something, I don't remember the exact wording on the bug, but basically, oh boy. Where was I? The tether distance.
Yeah, so there were complicated stuff where it's not just you change the number and then everything works. Right. There's lots of different things that are using different values that are all kind of synced up to the tether distance. And when we looked into trying to extend it, we just realized there were so many potential things we could break by making that change, and there was no way we were going to come up with all of them. So what we were going to do is change the tether distance, put the game out there, and then the players would basically be our testers, and they would be finding all kinds of disasters and problems. And so we realized the small amount of distance that you could probably get with more powerful hardware by extending the tether wasn't going to be worth the instability. It wasn't going to be worth all of the inconvenience that would be causing for a lot of players. So we decided to hold back on that one and figured that, if we need to solve that problem, probably the best place to solve that is ground up on the next title. So now that we've been purchased by Microsoft and there's a long-term commitment to the State of Decay franchise, we do have that option to think about things as future title solutions. So yeah, bear that in mind.
Thanks for watching. For mods, heroes, weapons, and more, check out the link in the description below. I'll see you in the next one.